From VTV Channel 6 Studios in downtown Vernal, this is Local Point with your host, Chris Piner.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Local Point, brought to you by Strata Networks. I'm David Gale, in for Chris Piner today. On today's show, we welcome to the studio Sam Knaizer, who is Newfield Exploration's Government Relations Representative. He's here to talk about Newfield Exploration and the future development plans they have for our area. So welcome, Sam. Thank you for coming all the way from Denver, I understand, though I'm sure you've been many other places besides there. To start with, we are an oil-producing community. A lot of us work here, and many of us, I would say probably the majority of us, know who Newfield is. But for those who are watching who may not have a clue who Newfield Exploration is, maybe you can tell us just a little bit about the company and the company history here in the Uinta Basin.
Yeah, absolutely. The company is actually Houston-based. We entered the basin in 2005. We actually acquired inland resources. So I've been here for quite some time. We directly employ in the basin over 500 employees, indirectly about 1,500 subcontractors. So a very large footprint, as you mentioned, the largest oil producer here in the basin.
Yeah. And when we're talking about producing oil, again, for those who may not be familiar, we have a lot of rigs that are south and southwest and south, well, just about everywhere. What exactly does Newfield do when it comes to the production of the oil?
So Newfield is actually an exploration and production company. Okay. So we drill for and produce the oil, and then we sell the oil to the markets, and then that oil eventually gets refined. So we're actually the company that goes in and drills the wells and extracts the oil.
You are the company that all of the service companies here in the Uinta Basin service.
That's right.
You come in, you do the work, and we provide all of the services to make sure you can get your job done.
That's right.
Okay. So how many wells would you say, how much work have the largest active production exploration company in the Uinta Basin? How much does that equal out to?
So we've actually drilled over 3,000 wells to date since that time in 2005.
Okay.
We have a very large acreage position in the basin, over 200,000 acres, a little over 100,000 of which are federal acreage.
Okay. So we got on like BLM land, and then what is the rest of it?
Some of it's tribal, so we've got a great partnership with the Ute tribe here, developing on some of their acreage, and then some of it is fee private land.
Okay. And I understand that, you're obviously here for a reason, some goodwill just to say, hey, we're Newfield and we're here. Here in the Uinta Basin, we get our livelihood from companies like you, being able to support companies like you. What is, just in really rough terms, what is the future looking like right now for Newfield in the Uinta Basin?
The future is looking very good. The Uinta Basin is actually home to tremendous resource. You hear a lot about the Bakken in North Dakota or the Eagle Ford in Texas, but the Uinta Basin here is actually home to a world-class oil and gas resource just like those places. So the future is bright. Because of the federal acreage that we have out here, we're subject to kind of a different set of regulations and oversight than operators in some of those other states.
Okay.
And part of that is the NEPA process, which means if we're going to do any large future development, we have to work with the Bureau of Land Management to do what's called an environmental impact statement, where the agency will evaluate, analyze, and then disclose to the public what that development looks like and what the environmental impacts might be.
And I understand that you're actually right in the middle of a process of doing that right now in order to, for some future wells that you'd like to drill. Where are we in that process?
So right now, the draft of that document is open for public comment. So we initiated the process with the BLM actually in 2008. So it might seem like a long period of time, but what we've done with the agency in that time is really worked together, not just with the BLM, but other relevant federal agencies, Fish and Wildlife Service, EPA, to really come up with a draft that we think is really reflective of what the development's going to be like. And so now that the draft is out and it's open for public comment, it's kind of all of our chances to digest what's in there and comment on things that we think are positive or maybe negative about the document.
What kind of things does that environmental impact statement look at? I mean, the words itself, environmental impact, it makes me think, well, what does the future production, how does it affect the environment? Is that all that it is?
No, it's really kind of a top to bottom analysis of that development. The analysis is actually done by the agency and their consultants. So Newfield, as the proponent, will submit kind of what our proposed development is, but the agency is the one that actually does the analysis. And that analysis really includes environmental issues, air resource issues, water resource issues, endangered species issues, but also looks at socioeconomic analyses and the impact on the local communities.
Yeah, and I imagine that's why back in 2008 you started this, and we're still dealing with it. It takes an awful lot of time and effort to kind of go over and come up with guesstimates. Guesstimate, no, that's the wrong word. What word would you use? I don't know. To try to figure out what the actual impact could be.
That's right.
You don't want to make a mistake when you're dealing with this.
No, guesstimates is actually the public that really helps us figure this out. It's all the partners coming together, talking about the document, submitting comments to really help figure out what the impact's going to be.
And that process is open right now to the public to make those comments. So we'll talk a little bit more about how the public can do that in just a second, as well as maybe some of the findings that have come through that EIS, the environmental impact statement. So stay with us. We're going to be right back to talk a whole lot more about Newfield in the Uinta Basin and what it could mean for the businesses here even. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
With advanced all-digital cable television from Strata Networks, you can enjoy jaw-dropping digital picture on hundreds of channels, exclusive local programming with VTV6, and follow your favorite college teams in incredible HD on the Pac-12 network, all with no contracts, no costly equipment, and no dishes mounted to your home. For details, visit your Strata store in Roosevelt or Vernal or call 622-5007. Strata Networks. We connect lives.
Welcome back to Local Point. I'm joined again by Sam Knaizer, who is Newfield Exploration's Government Relations Representative. We were discussing Newfield Exploration's proposed development that is currently open for public comment, a development that could possibly put over 5,000 new wells. That's not immediately. I mean, you're not just going to immediately go out and just drill 5,000 wells. That would be a lot of work. What do you have a period of time that this is encompassing?
Yeah. So one of the things that's important for companies that are going through this NEPA process to do is make sure they evaluate the proposed development for the foreseeable future. So that because of sometimes how long these projects can take, you're not sort of stopping development, waiting for permits or the like. So it proposes 5,250 wells, the majority of which are oil wells, and that's going to give us an inventory for the foreseeable future.
Okay. And the acreage that you guys have, you have federal land, you've got some tribal land, you've got private land. This proposed environmental impact statement is for which of those lands?
So it's actually just a federal block. It's actually the largest federal secondary recovery unit in the United States. And what that means is the project is actually a water flood project. So part of the way that we capture the resource is by injecting water into the formation to kind of raise the oil out of the ground. There are some things we do behind that actually are really fantastic and state-of-the-art. We have a water recycling facility that recycles almost 99% of the produced water that comes out of that formation, which substantially limits our freshwater resource needs for the project. In addition, air quality is a major concern for a lot of the residents, and we have some really cool technology, one of which is a gas oil separation plant, which actually helps substantially reduce ozone-forming contributors, NOx and VOCs, while we grow production. So we're able to grow production and reduce our emissions profile.
And these facilities, are they located out here? Do you have to ship stuff somewhere else?
No, they're all in the basin. They're all part of the operation, and that's really sort of what limits our environmental impact. on that development.
Okay. And what does this draft environmental impact statement, what kind of findings have they given you so far?
So as part of the process, you get different alternative proposals for development. So one of the alternatives is our proposed development, as the proponent we submitted to the agency. The agency has their alternative, and there are actually a few other alternatives that are in there.
Okay.
And so, we obviously prefer our proposed alternative,
Sure.
but there's a lot of great stuff in all those alternatives, and like the public, Newfield will be submitting comments on those alternatives, and I'm confident that the end result will certainly be something we can all work through and continue to develop an important resource here in the basin.
And those public comments, what do you hope they provide to Newfield in order to add to your own proposed alternative?
It's really an opportunity for us to learn from the public as much as for us to evaluate and analyze what the agency's looking at. So, I would encourage folks that have an interest in the project that want to comment on something specific to submit comments. You can do that through the BLM's website, and you can do it electronically. You can just send them an email, and I think the more people that engage in this process and disclose what they might be concerned about or what they think is really fantastic about what we're doing, this is the time to do it.
And typically, there's also opportunities for groups of people to come together for like kind of an open house public comment period. I know that there have been a few of those. Are there going to be any more of those passed now?
They have passed,
Okay.
but the best way to do it is actually to send your comments in.
Okay.
The comment period is scheduled to close February 4th.
Okay.
So I would encourage people to get online and read some of the documents. Some of them are pretty long, and then submit their comments.
Yeah. Know your stuff before you start commenting. I mean,
Yeah,
do your
know
research.
stuff and help us all learn from what we do and what the process is and what we can do better and what we're doing well.
Okay. What happens after February 4th then?
So the document will the public comment period closes, and then the agency, the BLM, will take those comments and begin to evaluate those and put those into a final EIS, which will eventually be published. And as part of that process, they'll consult with all the other federal agencies and they'll come up with a final, and then that'll be sort of the document that we work with as we continue our development.
And how soon, if everything goes according to plan, you get the public input you need, everything lines up, how soon would new wells be being drilled based off of this EIS?
We're optimistic that sometime next year we'll be able to start sort of tiering our development to this document. But the timeline on this document doesn't necessarily preclude our development, our ongoing development.
Right.
So we're actually operating under a current EIS, the Castle Peak EIS. And so this is really being proactive and analyzing what we're going to be doing here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and for us in the Uinta Basin, we appreciate having a company like Newfield. And one thing I wanted to get to, we don't have a whole lot of time left, but I was reading something about the environmental impact statement that talked about the use of current pads to drill new wells, that not necessarily would all these 5,000 wells be a brand new pad with a brand new rig on it. Well, you can need a rig, but that you'd be using a lot of the infrastructure that's already there. Is that true?
Yeah, no, our surface disturbance with this proposed project is significantly diminished by pad drilling.
Okay, very nice. Okay, again, we've only got a few seconds left. There we are. But I wanted to know if there was anything that you as representative of Newfield wished to tell the community at this opportunity.
Yeah, I actually just would like to thank the community, the state, local, county levels. We've had tremendous support. Not just on this project in particular, but just in what we do. And with some of the challenges we face, some of the regulatory challenges, it's a great place to operate, and we're thrilled to be here.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank
Sam
you very
Knaizer.
much.
I think I got his name right every single time I said it, which is a miracle to me. Thank you all very much for watching Local Point. We'll see you here next time on BTV Channel 6.